Perceptive Power, Chapter 7, The Science of Apperception. In our foregoing consideration of the subject of perception, we have confined ourselves to that general phase of the subject which is concerned chiefly with the perception of the qualities, properties, and attributes of the objects under consideration. That phase of the subject comprises practically all that is usually included in the category of perception. But of late years, psychologists have been inclined to include also in that category a form of apprehension and cognition, which is concerned with the discovery of the relations and associations of the observed things. Although some would hold that such mental processes more properly belong to the category of reflection than to that of perception, the tide of psychological opinion seems to be running in the direction of the latter-day classification just mentioned. This additional phase of perception is known as apperception. Apperception is defined as perception called forth by the relations existing between the external object and other objects already known. Another definition is perception arising from the likeness or association of the observed object with other objects previously perceived and known. A third definition is apperception is the discernment of the relations and associations between a newly perceived thing and one previously perceived. It is the blending of perception and association. Perhaps the following illustrative story will convey the idea better than do the formal definitions. A boy concealed in a tree watches the passerby. One passerby, noticing the tree, remarks to a friend, "What a fine stick of timber." The boy says to himself, "Good morning, Mr. Lumberman." The next passerby says, "Mighty good bark on that tree." The boy mutters, "Good morning, Mr. Tanner." The third man says, "I'll bet there's a squirrel's nest in that tree." The boy whispers, "Good morning, Mr. Hunter." In the above story, each passerby perceives the same general external aspect of the tree, but in addition, each apperceives those certain related or associated elements possessed by the tree, which particularly concerns him because of his interest or interests. Each apperceives the tree according to the relations and association arising from his own most interesting experiences. And finally, the boy is seen to have apperceived the tree and its qualities as a hiding place, according to his own previous experience and their related associations. In the broad sense, for that matter, all the higher acts of perception are really also acts of apperception. This because each higher perceptive act or process involves memory, association, thought, and imagination, as well as simple perception. Apperception blends into reasoning and logical thought so closely that it is often difficult to distinguish between the two respective processes. Moreover, your perceptions are nearly always more or less colored by your apperceptions. You see things in their relations to and associations with your previous experience, rather than as they really are apart from the latter. You build associative links to things and thereafter find it difficult to detach the latter from their relations and associated things. Apperception often tends to cause you to entertain preconceived ideas and prejudices for or against things under observation. This too frequently interferes with true, efficient perception on your part. Apperception is an excellent servant, but a very tyrannical master, often a very unjust one. An understanding of apperception will explain many things which have heretofore perplexed you. It will give you the solution of that perplexing question as to why different persons readily find entirely opposite qualities and properties existing in the same thing. Their respective reports frequently differ so greatly as to be most difficult to reconcile them intelligently. Apperception, untrained and unrestrained, causes persons to find just what they expect to find. A man harboring certain preconceived notions concerning a particular subject or object will most likely apperceive it in just those qualities or attributes which agree with his particular notions, while another man with opposite notions will apperceive facts quite opposite to those apperceived by the first man. Each finds that for which he looks and which he expects to find, and each ignores or fails to apperceive the opposite set of facts or conditions. Interest. Interest, self-interest, preconceived notions, prejudices, previous associations, previous experiences. These tend to color your apperception and to cause you to see through your colored glasses instead of through the clear, colorless glasses of truth and reason. You will find yourself inclined to see things not as they really are, but according to their degree of agreement or disagreement with your previous associations and experience, or with your prejudices and preconceived ideas. Other facts connected with them will almost seem not to exist for you unless you are careful. A fact related to your previous experience will tend to outweigh a half dozen equally valuable facts with which you have had no previous experience. This will doubtless be all right if you wish to become a bitter partisan or an enthusiastic advocate of some particular cause or interest, but it will not be right for you if you wish to become an honest, consistent, logical thinker. If you seek truth for the sake of its truth, then you must always be on the lookout for this phase of apperception, for it is not always at your elbow playing the part of the tempter and deceiver. But, as we have said, apperception is an excellent servant, although a poor master. You may set it to efficient work as a servant by impressing it with the strong idea of the general direction of your search for knowledge, by fixing strongly upon it the idea of the special or general class of information for which you are seeking, and then bidding it to discover facts in accord and harmony with them, and with the things which will aid and serve your general purpose and aim. Apperception so trained will invariably and inevitably seek out the desired related or associated facts for you whenever they abide in the object or subject under observation or investigation. It will always seek to discover for you the facts related to or associated with your main purposes and aims. It will do this by the force of interested attention, concentration, and subconscious mentation. Moreover, by your understanding of the principles of apperception, you will be able to acquire knowledge of the right kind and in a logical manner by learning the correct basic principles of any subject which you wish to master. And by setting these before your attention in the proper manner, you tend to arouse the power of apperception and to direct it toward the building of a logical and scientific structure of thought upon the solid foundations which you have exhibited to it. In such cases, apperception will eagerly search for facts with which to build the structure. It will seek for them in almost every act of simple perception. It will seek in every experience something which will fit into the structure. It will seek this material as the essential facts of experience and will lightly pass over the non-essentials. Trained and well-directed apperception stands by, always eager to pounce upon any presented facts which it believes to be directly associated with and related to the general structure of your thought and feelings. If you wish for an actual illustration of this action on the part of the faculty of apperception, this power which seeks to aid and assist you in your pursuit of knowledge and information, you will find many such within your own everyday experience. The little exercise of the memory will show you that whenever you have begun to become specially interested in an object or subject, there has begun to be manifested a peculiar awakening of something within you, which displayed great eagerness to discover and uncover facts, details, relations, and associations concerning the subject or object of your interest. You will find that your attention frequently was suddenly directed toward and caught by some item in a newspaper or magazine or some portion of a book which had a direct or indirect relation to or association with that subject or object. In fact, you will find it was difficult for you to pick up any newspaper, magazine, or book without finding such related or associated information, even though you might have read its pages several times before without discovering any such thing in it. You will find your world of experience then extended its boundaries rapidly in the locality of that special object or subject of your interest. A new world of facts was discovered by you, and a new body of relations and associations was uncovered for you. That something within you is an excellent servant, an untiring worker in your interest. It will work even while you are asleep, for it proceeds along subconscious as well as conscious lines of activity. This power of apperception, once set to work by you in a definite direction and with a well-defined purpose, will call to its aid the powers of memory and constructive imagination, as well as those of perception and observation. It will be well for you to come to an understanding with your faculty of apperception and to issue your commands to it. But you should always retain the mastery of it, for while it is an excellent servant, it will develop into a tyrannical master if you surrender control to it. It is but a tool and instrument for the use of that master, which you yourself should always be in your world of experience. The faculty of apperception is essentially concerned with the establishment of relations and associations between a newly perceived fact and other facts previously perceived and already known. Apperception is a relating activity. Apperception has well been described as the combining activity of the mind that brings order and harmony into our mental life by transforming the consciousness of related facts into the consciousness of relations. Perception brings to you the apprehension of particular facts actually related and associated, but apperception is required before you may discern such relationship and association. When it is remembered that thought is concerned largely with the discovery of the relations between different particular things, the importance of apperception begins to be realized. Apperception also may be said to be that phase of thought by which you perceive and discern the relations existing between the different items of knowledge existing in your inner world of experience. Two separate known facts may have places in your world of experience, having been placed there by perception, but you may not be consciously aware of any relation or association existing between them. When your mind wakes up to the fact that the two facts are related in certain ways and that there is a logical association existing between them, then you have exercised the faculty of apperception. Or again, you may perceive a new fact, but have not as yet become aware that it has any logical or practical relation to other facts previously known to you. In such case also, apperception supplies the missing connection and the two facts become welded in your thought. Men have perceived many facts concerning electricity, but apperception was required to relate those facts to lightning, heating, motive power, transmission of messages, etc. Coal had been perceived ages before it was apperceived as related to the subject of heating. Petroleum had been perceived long before it was apperceived in its relation to the subject of lighting, heating, motive power, etc. Certain gases were perceived long before it was apperceived that they bore an important relation to raising a balloon. Wool was perceived long before the primitive man apperceived its relation to warm covering for the human body. The heat generated by friction was perceived long before someone apperceived its relation to fire-producing activity. The progress of the human race has resulted largely by reason of man's faculty of apperception, the power of discovering new relations in things. The future progress of the race depends largely upon the further exercise of the faculty of apperception in the direction of additional discoveries of new relations between things already perceived. The progressive man is ever on the lookout for the discernment of new relations concerning the things already perceived by him. All discoveries in science and all inventions are the result of this discernment of new relations by the exercise of apperception. A prominent college professor was wont to advise his pupils, be ever on the hunt for relations. The only progress possible is that arising from the discovery of new relations. No matter what is a man's occupation, his success depends largely upon his close study of relations. A faulty knowledge of relations frequently results in failure. Whenever you learn a new thing, apparently unrelated to any other part of your knowledge, make haste to establish relations and associations for it. Your degree of knowledge of anything depends materially upon your knowledge of its relations and associations. In fact, About all you can ever hope to know concerning anything is one, its qualities and characteristics, and two, its relations and associations. You know a thing only as you know these two classes of facts concerning it. The first class is known to you through perception, the second through apperception. Apperception is the connecting link between simple perception and simple thought. It partakes of the nature of both of these mental powers, which it likewise connects and binds together in the mental processes. Apperception is manifested in two general ways, the active principle of both being the same. These two ways are as follows. One, the way of experimental observation, in which you set things to work, in which you test them under varying circumstances, in which you try them out and conduct experiments with them, all on the physical plane, though under your mental observation. And two, the way of constructive imagination, in which you perform various experiments with things, similar to those above noted, but this time on the mental plane instead of the physical. In the first of the above noted ways, you do your work with your hands and in the world of matter. In the second way, you perform the work all in your mind and with the aid of the mental faculties alone. The inventor on the physical plane employs both of these ways. The inventors on the mental plane, the great planners, designers, constructors, who see first the thing as ideal to be afterward materialized as real, these men employ the second way principally. But in either case, the raw materials of apperception are furnished by perception. They can come from no other source. When one holds before his mind a definite, clear, and strong ideal, which he insistently desires, confidently expects, and persistently wills to become materialized into reality, then he sets into activity the powers of apperception in behalf of the realization of that ideal, toward making that ideal become real. Then, as a writer has well said, your apperceptive conceptions stand like armed soldiers within the strongholds of consciousness, ready to seize upon everything likely to prove of service to the great cause. Without the definite, clear, strong, positive ideal, these soldiers are asleep and accordingly fail to seize upon the valuable related facts, and you never become conscious of them. When apperception is aroused, you become aware of a great world of related facts of which you had previously been unaware. But without the incentive of the ideal or subject held in mind, apperception will not be aroused. In such case, your apperceiving conceptions will have been asleep and their natural prey will have escaped them. The field of apperception must be cultivated by interest, definite ideals, and fixed purpose before it will bring forth its crop of related and associated ideas and facts. Teachers realize that when their leading authorities bid them to prepare the mind of the pupil for the efficient assimilation of the knowledge to be imparted to them, and that we must prepare the minds of our pupils for the apperception of concepts. We must help them to array in their minds their apperceiving conceptions, and let us put a definite question before them, which is the definite aim of the lessons to answer. Also, we must bring out of the memory and experienced perceptions of the pupils everything that bears upon the lesson. This can be done best by asking them questions, because in this way, we secure the greatest amount of mental activity on their part. You will do well to note the above suggestions concerning the knowledge extracting power of questions. While it is true that the present volume has for its sole field and consideration of perceptive power the associated subjects of creative power, constructive imagination, subconscious mentation, etc., forming the respective fields of companion volumes, yet we feel that we should at least call to your attention the general principles of the application of apperception in the other mental processes to which we have just referred. The following paragraphs will be devoted to that purpose. The careful consideration of what is stated in them should at least set you on the right road and point out the way toward further training along those particular lines, if you should so elect. Those who have accomplished great results by the employment of apperception along the lines of ideation and constructive imagination report that they owe their success largely to an observance of certain fundamental rules, which may be stated as follows. 1. Fill the mind with the raw materials furnished by the perception of the important facts in your special field of endeavor and work. In the present book, the accepted methods of accomplishing this stage of the process have been pointed out and practical working plans presented to you. 2. Create a strong, clear, positive, definite ideal of that which you wish to accomplish, accompanied with a positive, definite purpose to attain and accomplish the materialization of that ideal. Set before your mind the definite question which you wish to be answered. Make the demand that your mind shall answer that question by means of bringing out from the great storehouse of memory the related and associated concepts and facts which have been placed there by perception, and by means of causing the constructive imagination to picture these concepts and facts in new orders, combinations, and arrangements, so as to conduct an effective process of mental testing, trying out, and experimentation. 3. By means of your definite ideals, insistent desire, confident expectation, and persistent determination, set into operation the activities of the great planes of subconscious mentation which are at your disposal and which will readily respond to the demand. By doing this, you will start that process of unconscious rumination which all great inventors and discoverers in any field have experienced. Place before your subconscious faculties the questions which you wish to be answered, the questions concerning the new relations and associations between certain known facts and others not as yet recognized as related to or associated with them. 4. From time to time, indulge in the mental process of reverie. Go into the silence, as some of our metaphysical friends call it, not into a condition of daydreaming, but rather that of a state of shuttering out outside perceptions, so as to concentrate the attention upon the inner field of apperception. Some advise that this process should be undertaken at the same hour on each successive day until the problem is solved. Others hold that the subconscious faculties themselves will serve notice upon you, that they are ready to report progress. In either case, at such times, you should roll over in your mind the question before you, discovering just what relations and associations you know concerning the thing in question, and seeking to discover at least the general direction of other relations and associations. Experiment, test, and try out mentally any arrangement, plan, process, or combination which may present itself to you. You will find that from the subconscious realms of your mentality, there will at times flash out or pop out some entirely new plan or idea involved in the general question. When you have ruminated sufficiently to exhaust the material presented to you in this way, you should bring the sitting to a close and once more dismiss the entire subject from your conscious field of mentation with a parting demand upon your subconscious faculties to do some more work on this question. 5. The above successive processes of conscious stocktake and subconscious rumination should be continued until you find that you have exhausted the subject for the time being. Then take a rest, at least so far as is concerned your conscious field of mentation. Your subconscious field will continue at work, as you will discover when you consult it again after your interval of rest. If this process and method should seem somewhat fantastical to you, rest assured that the reports coming from some of the most practical and hard-headed workers along the lines of invention and discovery in many different fields of human endeavor show that they have followed some such plan and method, although they may use different terms in which to express it. The essence of the above rules may be expressed as follows. In your world of experience, you have stored away thousands of facts and ideas composed of the raw materials of your perception. They are all there, though you may have apparently forgotten many of them. All that is needed is the discovery and discernment of the connecting links of relation and association. These will prove to be the loose ends by means of which you may unravel the ball of subconscious memory. By employing the above methods of apperceptive subconsciousing, you will bring to the surface of consciousness these missing facts and ideas. And in addition, your constructive imagination will work over into new combinations and arrangements of relation and association of the materials sent up from the subconscious storehouse of memory. But last, as first, the materials supplied by perception constitute the entire materials of which your world of experience is constructed. Remember that here as elsewhere, you can get out of anything only what has been put into it. Therefore, proceed to cultivate efficient apperception by first developing efficient perception. The working materials of apperception are but the combined elements deposited in the subconscious by the processes of perception. Apperception can uncover only that which has previously been registered in the mind by perception. Apperception can uncover only that which has previously been registered in the mind of perception. Apperception works up the raw materials of perception into more complex forms of percepts or concepts.